Today, on DJIJ Speaker Guy, we'll be comparing two sets of 2.1, that is, two small speakers and a subwoofer, computer speakers that come in around $130 to $150 on average. Okay, so here comes the first system. These speakers are the Logitech Z623. I'm going to get a better view of those. 2.1 speaker system. The box on the newer ones say 400 watts, but in reality these are 200 watts, sort of the nominal, or as professionals call it RMS power, and a peak that is maximum, absolute max of 400 watts. But don't try that for too long or you'll probably blow your speakers. That's just the peak, like if you have some heavy bass or something. And these speakers have two side speakers. One of these does have a thick cord, and it might be too short for some users. Now, these speakers are producing the high notes and some of the mid-range and vocals, and the subwoofer takes care of the rest. Can control the subwoofer, the volume, and the power from the front of the right speaker. And these speakers definitely have some good bass when I tested them. These are THX certified, which means that they were tuned by THX. THX makes a lot of the sound systems for the movie theaters and stuff. They had part in this system as well. So that's sort of the overview of this system. Okay, so this is the next system. This is the Harman-Kardon SoundSticks III. Now, these speakers, as you can easily tell, that's a good name for them, the SoundSticks III, because the side speakers are pretty tall and skinny. I would call those SoundSticks if I didn't know the model name. Although, not so much for the subwoofer. That thing looks more like a jellyfish. These things only have 40 watts of power, but I would say that's enough. That's more than enough. The 200 watts on the other system, I would say, I don't notice much of a difference, but I can tell you they do compete. They do compete, definitely. Although, the only difference that I noticed is the Harman-Kardon doesn't get as loud. We'll go over some of the other differences in the sound test between the two. Some people may like one over the other. Some people may like different sets. So, it all depends on what you like. Now, I feel like this system definitely has better wiring. It's longer. You can place the speakers farther apart if you want. And it just looks great. This is one of the only computer systems that I would feel comfortable with setting the subwoofer on top of a desk. It's not one of those big, huge black boxes that really looks bad on a desk, so that's the cool thing about this system. Now, this system also features the volume controls on the right speaker, but that's only the volume controls, and the cool thing about those is they're touch sensitive. They're not actual buttons. If you touch them, you don't have to press them. Although that is just, I guess you could say if you're holding the speaker or something and you accidentally turn up the volume, you could get startled. So that's not the best design there, but I guess it works. The only thing that I would have to say about these is the power button and volume and bass control. So the power button and bass control for the subwoofer are on the back of the subwoofer, so they're harder to get to. And it's also weird because it's the same knob for both. You press in on it to turn it on or off, and you turn it to change the bass. It's a little bit less, and it doesn't have a label on it, so it's not as, I guess, obvious what it is. So I would say for the Logitechs, I would give them a higher score on, I guess they thought out, they thought about the users more when they designed the speaker, with the knobs on the front and having separate use for each of the knobs, but these still work out for me, definitely. So for the sound test, we're going to start with the bass control all the way down. So that's pretty much what we're going to be doing. Then as the video goes on, I'm going to be the test afterward will be with the bass all the way up. So from that, it becomes obvious that when Logitech designed these speakers, they designed it in mind that if the user wants to turn the subwoofer all the way down and off, and not have any sound coming out of it at all, they can use the bass volume control on the front. And at the lowest volume, there's nothing coming out of the subwoofer on this particular set. Now let's test the other set with the bass all the way down. So here we go. So with this system, what I noticed is the left and right speakers on their own sound fuller. But another thing I noticed is when you put your ear up to the subwoofer, the top of the subwoofer, which is where some of the sound comes out, you'll notice there is still some sound coming out of it. So with the subwoofer all the way down on this setup, there's still a tiny bit of sound coming from it. So they designed it a little bit differently on this setup. Okay, so here's the Logitechs with the bass all the way up. Now, this is too much bass for some users, and you can always put it halfway up, or whatever you choose, to match what you want. And it'll match most people for both of these systems. So one thing I found really interesting about these is, I'm not sure if this will work right here or right now, but if I put something on the side of the subwoofer where where some of the bass comes out, some of the sound comes out of the side, some of it comes out of the front, because of the way it's designed. I mean they have to have a place for air to come out on the side, and they have to tune it just right to get the right amount of bass. But I found this pretty amusing, what it does when you put something up to it. Did you see it vibrate? That's really funny, in my opinion. Also, these things definitely do rock on maximum bass. Okay, so now we're doing the maximum bass test on the Harman-Kardon SoundSticks III 2.1 speaker system. And we're waiting for the song to load. There we go. Okay, as you can tell, the bass sound isn't quite as deep on these, but it's still pretty deep. It's still good for a subwoofer of its size, I guess. They both sound good for their price. They both sound good for what they are, especially. So, now, let's put my phone case on top of this one and see if we can get the same thing to happen. Sort of, but not as much. Now, as you can tell, this system doesn't have quite as good bass, but I guess if you don't want your bass being all loud, and you want it a little bit more calm, less loud, these speakers are better. So these Harman-Kardons, if you care about the look of your sound system and you want a beautiful sound system that you can place the subwoofer on top of the desk with, and you want a sound system that sounds at least good, I guess, but you don't care about it sounding the best, these are your speakers. They're the way to go. If, on the other hand, you care about, let's see, if you don't care about looks, and you don't care if you have to place the subwoofer under a desk, and you don't care about having to place the speakers too far apart because the cords are shorter, these are better speakers for you than the Harman-Kardons, because they definitely have better bass, and they are louder, unless you don't like the low bass or loudness for some reason, which I'd be surprised about. Well, I guess if you're listening to some genres of music, Harman-Kardons may be better. So, but you'd have to test in each individual system with that genre of music to really tell if you if the sound system is right for you. So that's pretty much. I definitely like the Logitechs better. So anyway, that's pretty much a comparison between the Logitech Z623 and the Harman-Kardon SoundSticks III, which are both 2.1 speaker setups. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and see you in my next video.